now taking to the broadcast of It's Time with Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
All right, thank you, Dr. Blackwell. Let me say Hotep Habaragani to my Africana Studies colleagues, contemporaries, colleagues, and friends, and seekers after the truth all. And, of course, let me hasten on to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but certainly never good night and never ever goodbye, because I always find goodbyes traumatizing. Ever since the loss of my beloved wife in 2012, her name was Carrie, and I have a different take on goodbyes. And so I trust you will I trust that you will endure an old man in his grief. You grieve your way, I grieve my way. All right, my name is the Reverend Nathaniel Wayne Martin. I'm the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of Los Angeles, and we're located at 8916 South Main, and we're worshiping with our sister church, the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church, of which my good friend, the Reverend Dr. Della F. Holliness is the proud pastor. If you're in the area, God so guides you or leads you, you never know what God is going to do. Come over and worship with us by day or by night. We'll be so happy to receive you, and just let the usher know at the doors. I heard about this broadcast, a church on the broadcast. I come to see Pastor Martin, and we'll be thrilled. We will be overjoyed to see you in the house. All right? All right. As you know, this is a social justice offering entitled It's Time, and we try to stick to the application of the Word of God to the needs of the people of God. Not exhaustively, of course, because things change so rapidly in our world today, but we try to keep abreast and make you abreast of the latest occurrences and happenings. Yes, life is filled with swift transitions. I can remember when we were making all of that progress, civil rights progress in the 60s and the 50s, but now looks like all of that progress is being rolled back by the current administration. But it didn't start with Trump. Actually, it started before Trump, way back there with Nixon's war on drugs and Ronald Reagan's war on crime and all of that milieu, and it's been gaining momentum ever since. When I speak of we, I'm speaking of the devotees of goodwill, didn't spend enough time looking ahead at what our enemy was plotting and planning, and now the enemy has sprung his plans or her plans, and they are very successful. They're sweeping away all of our incremental gains that we had won during the civil rights era, in so much so that they are even attacking the due process clause, the 14th Amendment clause that gave citizenship to all of the descendants of the slaves and their descendants, rather, after the Civil War in 1868. You had the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery. You had the 14th Amendment, which said that all persons born in the United States are citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside, and that succeeding language, which was very helpful, very hopeful, and it has stood the test of time. But now, with the current John Roberts, Chief Justice John Roberts, Supreme Court, they are seeing how they can roll it back, and so we are in a battle for our lives. Already you can hear echoes of Ephesians 6 chapter 11 and 12 verses. Yes, we are already in a battle. Let me speedily invoke our textual scriptures. I always like to get the Proverbs 14th chapter verse 34, which says, righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people, and I mean any people. All right. And then Micah 6:8, which says, he hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with thy God. And man, if we haven't trampled over that one. And then, of course, I always have to come to the New Testament, Luke chapter 12, the last clause of that first verse, which says, beware the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. And then, of course, my scriptural verse that describes explicitly the present time. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And believe me, that is an apt description of our political times. And you would struggle to find a more apt descriptor to describe the political, economic, and even the social order that we are confronted with in these last and evil days. All right, we will start with the fact that the federal court, United States District Court, District of New Hampshire, Judge Joseph N. LaPlatte ruled against the Trump administration, in spite of the fact that the United States Supreme Court said that it couldn't have any what was that motion? That a single individual, single judge could not get an injunction that was valid against all 50 states. That power was reserved to the Supreme Court. But of course the ACLU went to court immediately in the state of New Hampshire, and this is the ruling that the judge ruled. After careful consideration of the parties' submissions, the supporting declarations, the applicable law, and the filings and records in this case, the court grants petitioners' motion for provisional class certification and appointment of class counsel. Usually, if a person, like I had took a case and it got to the Supreme Court, and the justice it had ruled, then more likely it would have been effective against over all 50 states. But what the Trump administration is seeking to do is do an end run around all of those laws, and they argued to the Roberts Court that a judge in New Hampshire could not make an injunction stopping President Trump from enforcing an executive order that he knows was unlawful and doesn't pass constitutional muster to the bottom line, and is likely to be overthrown when the case gets to the court. But if you don't, if like me, I don't have the money to file no case in the Supreme Court. You got to start out with $500 just to file your paperwork. Well, I don't have that kind of loose money laying around, and even if I did, I need it for something else. so the little person, small parties are being, the door of the court is closed against us automatically because we can't do the filing fee. And what happened in this case, when Supreme Court ruled Trump v. Casas in the last, that was the Supreme Court case, that judges, individual judges, could not file an injunction that would be applicable across all 50 states if the President of the United States should decide to do so. So those cases would have to be certiorari, which means accepted by the Supreme Court, and go before the Supreme Court and would have to prevail. All right, but this is a class action suit. Not an individual person suit, but a class action suit. And the class is all born and unborn babies in the United States, as from, let's see, there was a date that was put on in February, born on or after February 2025, that person's mother was unlawfully present in the United States and the person's father was not a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of said person's birth. Or two, that person's mother's presence in the United States was lawful but temporary, and the person's father was not a United States citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of said person's birth. So that's a class action. The babies can't file because they don't have that kind of intelligence. You babies, somebody got to be fighting for you. And so hats off to the ACLU for filing this brief, and hats off to Judge LaPlante, and I know he's going to get all kind of vilification and execrations and acerbic language is going to be used against him, but I hope he can weather that storm. So that's that part of it. They still are able to get the class action suit to maintain birthright citizenship. All right, now the UN Special Rapporteur, that's the title, her name is Francesca Albanese, has picked up a lot of heat and a lot of criticism, a lot of scorn, a lot of vilification, and all of those other negatives that apply, synonyms, for her filing a report with the United Nations. And the report was entitled, let me see, Economy of Occupation to an Economy of Genocide. That's Human Rights Commission Report 59, number 23. And in her report, she lists a lot of the companies that are complicit with Israel in the genocide that they are committing against Gaza, against the Palestinians. And one name I was not surprised to see, that was IBM, because, you know, when Hitler, way back yonder, he employed IBM. Of course, they were using the key punch card to keep up with the names and the addresses and the identity of all the Jews. And that was an IBM company, International Business Machines, it was called at that time. And they were complicit in the Holocaust. Just like General Motors put their engine in the German warplanes, the same engine that they were putting in the American warplane. You check the history book, go back and search it for yourself. And I got hip to that through General Smedley Butler, who wrote a book, a little small book, in which he talks about the campaigns that he participated in, and how the Allies, when they got over in Germany and lifted up the hood of the German Panzer, they found that that was an American engine in there. So how did that engine get in there? Well, because General Motors was making money on both ways. I digress. Dr. Francesca Albanese listed IBM, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, a company called Palantir, which we're going to get to in a few moments, Booking.com, because Booking.com was taking reservations for people to come to Gaza, come to Palestine, and take over confiscated properties. And you wouldn't think Airbnb would be involved. Naturally, Caterpillar, because all of that bulldozers and destruction of people's property and houses couldn't be done without the Caterpillar. And on the banking sector, you got Barclays Bank, you got Allianz, you got BlackRock, you got Vanguard, you got British Petroleum for economic complicity. Now, Mrs. Francesca Albanese says this is the ecological system of economics of genocide. It equates to colonial racial capitalism, and it is an institutionalization of a regime of settler colonial apartheid. Now that was a whole lot to say, but what she was really pointing out was that this thing is systematized. It's not just one person, it's a whole system, a structural system of racism, structural racism on a scale that you would have to be in the United States doing a United States apartheid against black people, myself included, to have this recognition. But this is the reality that she has laid out in her report. I said I would get back to the Palantir. That's Palantir, which is an American company. But you've come to find out that the South African Peter Thiel and Alex Karp and Joe Lonsdale and Stephen Cohen, all of these names for these great companies, David Sachs and Peter Thiel, I've told you on other broadcasts to look out for these names. But these are the powers. These are guys, it says that there are 902 billionaires in the United States of America. 902 billionaires in the United States of America. And they hold sway over the entire U.S. economy. And they pick their people, they pick their judges that they want on the bench, so that when their cases come before their judges, they're going to get a favorable decision. And these are the people that are behind the Project 2025 report and the like. All right. Now, I forgot when I said this, but I said these are some of the heavy movers and shakers in the socio-political milieu. They, meaning David Sachs and Peter Thiel, wrote a book back in 1995 entitled The Diversity of Myth, Multiculturalism and Political Intolerance on Campus. Said these fellows are Silicon Valley heavyweights. Sachs is the co-chief operating officer of PayPal, and Peter Thiel is the co-founder. Turns out these guys are from South Africa, and just like Elon Musk, they wield a lot of influence in the GOP. At the time I wrote, if you hear the names Marco Rubio, Dr. Oz and J.D. Vance being bandied about. These men are the wind beneath their wings. All right? Remember, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Don't just look at Donald Trump. Look behind him at the real power brokers who are calling the shots. All right. And so this is how things are done in our economy at present. We never became a democracy. At this stage of the game, I don't see us becoming a democracy. I don't see the fulfillment of Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, where he said, and this nation of government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. But it seems like that vision has long ago been undermined. And sadly, we are no longer that city on a hill. Abraham Lincoln called us the last best hope of earth, of mankind. He talked about the better angels of our nature, but now it turns out that we don't have no better angels of our nation. Peter Thiel, David Sachs, Elon Musk, the Koch brothers, those are not better angels, but they are ruling the United States of America, and through rule of the United States of America, they rule the world. And those are not better angels. As an aside, although it bears repeating, and it bears your investigation, please look behind me and go and search for yourself, because I spend all week, even with my bad eyes, doing research, and I got cataracts, so your eyesight may be better than mine. You may have 20/20. I got cataracts, but I do my best to get my facts together, get my material lined up. And I got so many books on my table at home. People come over and say, "Boy, what you doing with all these books on this house?" But you got to have a lot of research material in order to do research. And fortunately, I've always had an investigative mind, and I've always loved history and anthropology, and it still stands me in good stead. I love the reading of Dr. W. Du Bois. He was the first really sociologist that I studied, and he wrote the book back in 1935 about the Black Reconstruction. If you don't have a copy, you should get it, because he was a great sociologist. And a lot of the data, a lot of statistics that the modern people use, those were formulated by W.B. Du Bois way back yonder. He was a graduate of Harvard University, and he went over to Germany and studied in those schools over there. And but his thesis, if you will, was on the uplift of his own people and uncovering our hidden history. Our history was hidden because those who were the victors didn't want you to know that history, even as they still don't. And while the Confederates and the United Daughters of the Confederacy were disparaging the era of the period of Reconstruction, we find that period was one of the greatest periods. If America was ever great, it would have been during that period of Reconstruction, when the former people who have been formerly enslaved in this country were able to vote and were able to get elected to the legislative houses and offices around the country. And if America was ever great, that would be when it was great. And Donald Trump says he's going to make America great again, but he don't want any DEI, which means black people, to get any kind of recognition. And the public school system was established not just by Horace Mann, who was a very great believer in education, public education. 5, all right. But by the formerly enslaved themselves, who were thirsty for education, thirsty for knowledge. You read some of Frederick Douglass's writing. He was just thirsty for education because he knew education was the door to opportunity in this settler colonial enterprise. And yes, it's a settler colonial enterprise. We make a mistake when we call it a democracy because we put ourselves off guard. We disarm ourselves. And it's bad to be disarmed in enemy territory. And so I was going to talk about the fact that when the sheriffs and Governor Abbott and the mayor of Kerrville were saying, no way we could have known that that this type of event was coming. But if you search the records, they lied, because this happened in 1978, it happened in 1987, and now it's happened again. It happens almost every 10 years in a 10-year cycle. That flash flood comes down that area. That's why they call that the flash flood alley. That's why they don't build no houses in that area. You wonder why they had all them camps in that area? Because that's big money. People pay big money to be at them camps. And you or I couldn't go, of course, because that's Lily White area up there. But the people, the people that were up there sent their kids up there probably every year, and so those things are very profitable, very profitable. Always follow the money. They couldn't build houses, but they could put motorhomes up there, and so that's what they were doing. And if you had that land, and then you could tell me I could come put my motorhome up there, and tell Mr. Jones, yeah, come on, put your motorhome up here. You get about 25 motorhome paying you $500 a month, or plus. You know, that's good income. And then in the summertime, you get all this influx from Houston and Galveston and Austin and San Antonio. Everybody getting their kids out the house for the summer, and they send them up there to summer camp, which may last a week or 2 weeks, and everything like that. So it was big money to be made down there. And come to find out that the city of Kerrville, which is where the camp was, had voted down putting sirens out there, because they said it cost too much money. But how much is it going to cost now? With all these kids lost, all these adults lost, that's expense that they're never going to be able to overcome. And so all of this hemming and hawing about we didn't know or we could not have known, they lied, they BSing. And it's becoming more apparent, because like I said, since the records have been kept from back in the 1800s, it's been every 10 years there's a flood that comes through that area. It's inevitable. And for you to tell me that you didn't know, you're lying. I'm gonna sue you. That's that part. I'm gonna sue you for the loss of my family, for the loss of my children, and the like. And so my time is over. But if you're working on a job and they don't want to pay you, don't waste your life, don't waste your time. If they don't want to pay you, don't work for them. Thank you, Doc. We're out of here. Love you.
My bad days, yes they do. Just say thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Lord.